Hello and welcome to Quilt Class in a Box 2, Binding Your Next Quilt or Placemat. We welcome you today and we have a lot to cover, so I'm going to get right to it. Thank you again for ordering your kit, and what this is meant to be is a support for your kit. We have several things in there. I'll identify them as we go, but if you're missing anything, just give us a call. All right, the first thing we want to do is tell you why we included this $20 ruler in your kit. Once you use this ruler, it will become your go-to ruler. It'll be your favorite. It is called a quick trim ruler. You're gonna think it's magic. It also is a creative grip ruler. What I really like about these rulers, they have grippies on the back, so it's a terrific ruler to work with anytime you're using strips. Also in your kit, we included a yard of fabric, a neutral fabric. Whenever I cut binding, it's easiest to cut it from a large piece of fabric. Then you can of course cut smaller pieces, but binding, I'm going to show you a technique to cut 18 yards of binding in 10 minutes or less. All right, so binding, as you know, 36. We're going to cut it from a piece 36 by 45. That's a rectangle. Rather than me try and lay this all out on the table, I'm going to use a fat quarter. This replicates the dimensions of that. All right, so what I want you to do is look in your kit there and find the sheet that shows you how to cut your bias binding. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is lay it out. Doesn't really matter which side is up or down. So the first thing I want to do, pick a corner. You're going to press it first. And you're going to take that first one and you're going to, just like the picture shows, I show you which is the selvage. So we've got a selvage along here. In your yardage, you'll actually have selvage here. Okay. The next thing you want to do is showing you to put some pins in there. Very, very important. You're going to put about 3 pins right along your edge here. And that is now you're identifying your bias piece. See how those stand up? Now we're going to make a house. You're going to take that corner, back it up if you missed something. You're going to bring that down, and look, it looks just like a house. Let me use my mat. Okay, the next thing you want to do in your final fold, so basically we're trying to take that great big area and make it small enough to handle, yet not so small that we'll slip and make a mistake. Then we're going to take our piece like this and bring it all the way up to the edge. Kind of looks like a fold of a man's handkerchief. So take a moment. If you don't think it's tidy enough, tidy those up a little bit more. Nice and neat. You don't really need to iron them, but I do like these flathead pins. Okay, and those are an optional item in your kit. Maybe some of you got those. Okay, so the next thing, now it's time, we're going to take those pins out. And now you want to get your ruler, and you want to cut away a 1/4 inch from the edge. All right, let's see if that came, oh, so good. Open that piece up, and if it stayed together, if it's all one even piece, then you've done it correctly. If there's a little bump in it, now's the time to catch it, because then you can straighten up that piece. Then you're going to take, and I love using a ruler like this or a mat like this because I can turn that around. Now I want to cut 2.5 inch strips. So what I love about this ruler, it's all marked in there. I'm going to line this piece up here. You're going to make sure you have a right angle here. That's very important in binding. And you're going to take and cut. And of course, there's always that one little hanger-on piece. All right, come on now. I ate my Wheaties this morning. All right, there we go. Now now it won't be one piece. There'll be a couple of pieces. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to pin this, come back to it. Basically, you'll keep cutting about 3 or 4 cuts. Keep it nice and even. All right, I'm going to put this aside. What do we do with this ruler? So now after you've gotten all your pieces cut, and usually I use this for with the fabric cuts, but I'm going to show you how it can be effective. If you're one of those people that kind of struggles, oh, does it go like that or does it go like that? Watch what you can do with this ruler. Turn both pieces right side up. Got it? Or the same side up. We're going to take this now, and actually now, I have finished with this piece, and I'm kind of onto your creative grid ruler. So if you pull that piece up. Okay, so I'm going to even these up. And I'm going to cut evenly across the top. Throw those out. All right, now let's look at this ruler here. You can do one technique, which I'm showing in this one, but let me show you what you can do with this Creative Grid ruler. You're going to open up your direction sheet, lay it out. Okay, now we've done the first few pieces here. You want all of your binding strips the same side up. Makes a difference. That's why I kind of like, you've got a neutral piece in your kit, and you know what? They have no right or wrong side, so you're good to go on that. Then you're going to take this magic ruler. And do you see this little tiny triangle? You can see it better on your piece of fabric on step number 2. You're going to lay that, run this right up like this, and you're going to lay that right above your piece so that your triangle is actually sitting on top of that. You can see it in the picture here. And you can see I've got an arrow there. Now we're going to take and we're going to trim that. All right. And what that does, now I've got the pieces all ready to stitch. I don't have to worry about, watch this magic. I need a wand or something, don't I? Okay, you're going to, what's really cool is you're going to match those up. Look at your picture if you can't see the video, and lay them right on like that. You're going to sew, it marks your 1/4 inch perfectly. You're going to stitch those right like this. When I discovered this ruler, I was in love. Now wait, the magic comes right now. So it's easy to fit in there. Now watch what happens when I stitch them. Well, of course I'm not stitching them, I'm just pinning them. But what you'll find is, press that open, and when you do that and you press it open, basically what I'm getting at is there's nothing to trim. It's already pre-trimmed, so there's no dog ears to cut off. Look at your picture here. There's no dog ears to cut off. It's all ready to go. You're going to love that. If you look down below in your picture, you can take any size square you want, cut off those corners, sew on a little half square triangle, and you've got a snowball block. So have fun with this ruler. There's a tutorial inside in addition to mine. There's a video on Checker Distributive website. It's an awesome product. All right, so we got that. Email me if you have any questions. Okay, so we've got these already. Now the most important thing I think you're here for today is, how about those corners? How about them corners? So let's go back to, we've got our binding cut now. We've got our strips all sewn together. You might want to try bias binding today on your square or your rectangle also. Okay, what I've taught my students a lot is, what do you sew your seam allowance with? And the answer is usually 1/4 inch. I sew a 1/4 inch. Well, sometimes it depends on, for example, look at what I've got here. I've got this Bosal mat, very, very thin. I've got this, it's kind of thick. So every project you do is slightly different. Every time I sew, I test this. I love doing binding. All right, let me show you. Can you see what you're looking at here? I took my binding, I folded it in half, and I stitched it on at a 1/4 inch. Now watch. When I turn it to this side, and I'm going to leave this up a bit so you can see, do you see that it really is almost a 1/4 inch past? And if I want to sew it here, that stitching line is going to show. So instead, I'm going to try a 3/8 inch seam. So let me back up a minute. What you're going to do when you start to sew is you're going to test that seam every time. And I do it every time. All right? So now I'm going to stitch it and turn it, and now it's perfect every time. So I would say most of the time I use a 3/8 inch seam. Okay, makes sense? Let's pull out your other paper here. And this is what I'm going through right now. This is your gold. So we're going